and I've been procrastinating for quite a long time because I couldn't find the things that give me the motivation. So my question for you is, how can I discover my passion to do things that makes me money and give me the motivation to keep on going? Thank you very much.
Well, clearly, this might require a back and forth to really dig deeply into this particular subject. But at the same time, we can say you are clearly passionate about procrastinating. So the idea is to find out what you're afraid will happen if you don't procrastinate. That would be simply based on a belief you have that something in your so-called future actions will actually cause you more pain, more difficulty, more suffering than simply holding back. So the idea is to get deeper into an investigation of your belief systems, because again, remember, all of you are motivated, absolutely motivated to do those things you believe serve you and to never do the things that don't serve you. So if you find that you're unable to move forward in the things you know could serve you, that must mean you have a belief system that says that moving forward would not serve you better than simply staying where you are. Once you find out why you're holding on to that belief, which, as I said, usually means you're afraid that something worse will happen if you do move forward, and you let that belief go as nonsensical because it's not a fact that that will happen, then you might start finding yourself more willing to act on things that are representative of your passion that can support you in a variety of ways, because you'll have reversed the motivational mechanism by no longer being afraid that moving forward will be worse than where you are.
Hello.
And good day to you.
Good day to you, sir.
Oh, sir, we are being formal today.
A word.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. I have a question about intuition in communication.
Yes, speak up, please.
No problem. Is the action of intuition a communication that is happening of something of our higher selves, or is it something that's beyond us, like, say, a creator or a guide? In that process...
Well, it can be other things, but it always comes through your own higher mind, so that your higher mind can deliver it to your physical mind in some way, shape, or form that allows you to experience the harmony between your physical and higher mind. So it can come from a spirit guide, it can come from other sources, but it will always pass through what's relevant for you in terms of the higher mind.
Okay. So the second part I have of the question is, there's an object that I've just come across that helps translate plants, and it's a box that allows it to go through musical notes.
All right.
And there's a musician who is playing with plants.
Yes.
And so in that process, it's translating the music, and it sounded like jazz.
Yes.
What the notes were creating. So is this a way for us to be able to use more in the future?
Yes.
And in that, same thing with musical instruments. As a musician, when I play, I can pick up a different instrument from different people. Am I more so connecting with the actual instrument's intelligence, or a higher being that's maybe in the instrument that was created, or an imprint of something?
Why is it always or? Why not and?
Well, that's the key question, is when I'm communicating with the instrument,
yes,
is it more of myself that's processing through the instrument, or am I connecting with something that's within the instrument itself?
Again, why is the question an or question instead of an and one? Yes, to both.
Okay, so thank you.
Yes.
So when that's happening, as the musician's playing,
yes,
are we also communicating through our guides?
Yes.
And the instrument, or the imprint of whatever the wood?
As you are playing an instrument, the instrument is playing you. Yes.
And then the song being created in that moment, is that something what we could call a harmonic resonance?
Yes.
So our connection is essentially, it wouldn't happen without the two of us, but is there a third part in there too?
Always.
And what is that third part?
It is the simulacrum expression that makes sense in your reality. It's the interpretation that makes sense to you in the focus that you are creating in your consciousness. The expression that is germane and relevant for the reality in the way that you're experiencing it.
So essentially, the idea of a harmonic resonance is it's three parts.
Yes, you understand the idea of a Venn diagram in your reality?
A little
of
bit.
A vesica piscis?
Can you describe
the two circles that overlap to form a third area that is common to both of them?
That makes perfect sense. Yes.
That's its own reality. That's its own archetypal consciousness. That's its own expression too.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what's happening even in the channeling, because you're not speaking directly to the channel and you're not speaking directly to me. You're speaking to a third consciousness, a simulacrum, a simulation that is germane for the translation of our thoughts into something that you understand in your reality.
So in a sense, the communication when you look at somebody and there's no words, but that feeling is that universal connection.
Yes, it's the reality you are co-creating with one another that you agree to communicate through as a third reality that is common to both of you because each of you are creating your version of it in your own unique reality.
Thank you. That clarifies a lot of what I've been coming to, my own intuition.
All right. Because if you were to interact directly with us, you would find us to be very different than what you're experiencing now. Not that there aren't some similarities to our consciousness or our personality, but by interacting with us directly, we would be something very different than what you're experiencing here. This is a third consciousness, a third personality, a third identity that makes sense in your reality.
Thank you.
Yes. Have fun.
Thank you. That's all my questions.
All right. Well, we thank you for the co-creation. Good day.
Good day. Cheers.
Hi, Bashar. I'm Erin from Shepherdstown, West Virginia. I have a question about Sasani reproduction. I've heard most of the time when you talk about the creation of a new Sasani baby, you refer to having two parents forming an energy bubble between them, and a new baby is formed within that. But I have also heard you mention that it is possible for there to be more than two parents directly involved in the process of creating a baby with the energy bubble. I would like clarification on this because most of the time I just hear you mentioning two. Can you confirm that sometimes there's more than two involved? And is that very common to have more than two parents involved in the creation of the energy bubble? Thank you.
Yes. And in a sense, yes, it's not uncommon. It's not necessarily always necessary, but it's not uncommon. It depends on what vibrational states are relevant to be there for the newborn, what it is they, as a spirit, have selected to absorb from different identities in the creation of their own. So, yes, it can be more than two, and quite often it is.
Hey.
Good day.
Hello, everyone. Hello,
Good
Bashar.
day, good day, good day.
Jason.
All right.
Transmitting from Sedona, Arizona.
All right.
I'm fascinated with Taurus energy. I would love to discuss the dynamic flow of our electromagnetic field as a Taurus and the heart generating that field and the anatomy and physiology. What does it look like? Is it flowing both counterclockwise and clockwise?
Yes.
And is it going up the spine and out the crown and back, circulating back down?
Well, that depends. But in describing the flow within the torus itself, it is going in more than one direction, and it is a woven sort of double spiral in the sense that it's flowing this way and flowing this way and flowing this way and flowing this way. Does that make sense?
A double spiral, double figure eight.
Both directions, a double spiral in both directions. If you imagine that the torus is made out of thin lines around it, going around it and around it in one direction, then also have the lines go, shall we say, crossing it in the other direction, and then having the lines go in this direction and also crossing it in this direction. Does that make sense? Do you understand the illustration?
I think so. Okay. And in terms of the anatomy and physiology, I know you answered this before. We are a manifestation projection inside our soul, our physical body is. Can you give us the anatomy and physiology details of what our soul looks like outside our physical body?
Well, the soul itself, in a sense, is a particular expression or pattern of light, of electromagnetic energy that has many different kinds of radiating and outward and inward radiating patterns simultaneously.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of like if you imagine dropping a stone in a pond and seeing the ripples go outward, but then the ripples bouncing off the edge of the pond and going back toward the center. But imagine that happening simultaneously. And then imagine that in multiple dimensions, multiple directions.
Mm-hmm. Is the torus field nested? We have bigger and smaller torus fields nested within each other for multi-dimensional being?
When you say in each other, do you mean the physical persona, the higher mind, and the soul?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Now, as far as our holographic bubble that we are creating, and can you talk about where the belief systems are stored in our morphogenetic fields and how that translates to our thoughts and emotions that are then stored into our cellular memory?
Well, the field itself is the storage mechanism. If you're talking about the idea of it being a holographic structure, then you will understand it. It's stored everywhere.
Within the bubble?
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yes, in other words, you tap into whatever you're the vibration of, wherever you are, because everything is here and now. Therefore, what you're calling the morphogenic field is simply a projection of consciousness that makes it seem like it occupies space and time, but that's an illusion. It's all here and now. So, in a sense, holographically, you can tap into anything, anywhere, including belief systems.
Okay, I notice we have an internal compass, and whenever I'm in my manifestation flow or my synchronicity flow, I will get a shot of bliss. My hair stands up on my arms, energy goes up my spine. Can you describe it so we can understand this better, internal compass? Well,
there are different ways to understand this concept of an internal compass. What you're describing is the vibrational version. In other words, you're sensitive to certain frequencies that when you align with them will create more of a superconductive or even a hyperconductive flow of energy through your neurological system because you are now synchronized and harmonized with the frequency that is closer to your essential core frequency. The idea of a physiological orientational compass within you is the product of the magnetite that exists in your sinus cavities that orients you to the magnetic field of the earth.
Okay. And I think I have one more question is, in terms of how the energy is flowing from the sun into the earth, is it coming in clockwise from the North Pole, counterclockwise out the South Pole?
Yes.
And the return...
Wait a minute. One moment. No, the opposite of what you said.
Counterclockwise from the north down, and then clockwise out the south?
Yes.
Okay.
Will that do?
Thank you for this opportunity. That was all I had.
All right. We thank you for the co-creation of the interaction. Good day.
Good day to you.
Hello, Bashar. Is there anything substantial about existence or the universe that you don't know? Do you still have questions? And you once mentioned that the universe is slightly positively charged. What is behind that charge? What causes it? And can it be called love? Thank you.
Love is the vibration of existence itself. The idea of the positive and negative charge and the slightly positive bend to existence is because of the third position of neutrality. The third position in the middle of positive and negative is neutral, and that is the balance point that still allows for the awareness that you are free to choose what you prefer. The very ability to be free to choose what you prefer, if you want to put it in these terms, is slightly positive. That's why it's bent slightly in the positive direction. But of course there are things we don't know. So, like you, we don't know what we don't know until we discover something new that we didn't know. So of course there are still questions. Discovery, exploration, never ends as far as we can tell. There's no such thing as an ending to it. So of course there are things we don't know because there are things that are not relevant for us to know. And there are things we don't know that would be relevant for us to know that we will discover in the process of exploration of ourselves and existence. But unconditional love itself is the frequency. It's your translation of the frequency of existence itself. It's unconditional. It allows you to create whatever you prefer, whatever you believe is true at any given moment, positive, negative, and neutral. Transmission, we would like to share with you the impact, the results, the effects of the change you have made in your energy shift recently, so that you may understand how you have altered the course of your own history in the future, not only with regard to the idea of open contact, but also how you can, through some very specific, simple actions, allow yourself to chart a course more clearly in the direction of the version of Earth that you prefer as you pass through this transition period over the next couple of your months into a new reality as well as a new year. So let us begin by first and foremost informing you that there will be now, in the new year, more opportunities for individuals to perceive, to experience what you typically refer to as UFO sightings, as a reflection of the shift, of the change you have now created. We understand that there may still be many processes to go through in harmonizing, settling down, getting used to the new direction, the new energy, and that's fine. And that may take a little while, but that's okay, because it's not going to stop anything from moving forward. And one of the things that is now far more probable is the idea of open contact with your world and many other extraterrestrial civilizations. One of the things we have spoken of before is the window of contact and the timing thereof, which in general was the years of 2025 to 2033 or 2040, depending on factors that have yet to fall into place. However, now, with this new shift, this new change, this new direction of energy, new vibration, new frequency coming into play in this transition period over the next few of your months and years, our perception as the energy exists right now is that you have brought that beginning of the window back toward you to the year 2023. So you have accelerated the probability that the window of contact may happen a little bit sooner, and also created 2023 to be a new focal point for the opportunity of a few different things. Number one, you may find that there is a high degree of probability in 2023 that you will, as we have said before, discover that life is possible on other planets. And again, it may be simple life. But the idea is that, again, once you discover, once you know for a fact that life can exist on other worlds, even worlds, simply in your own solar system, that will change the mindset of the people of your planet to be far more open to the idea that intelligent life and advanced technological life may exist elsewhere. You are rapidly approaching that realization, that understanding, and will soon either slightly before or in the year 2023, most likely, most probably make that discovery as we read the energy now. Also, you may find that now that your year of 2023 is a new focal point, a new lens, gathering frequencies and information and energy to itself to amplify and magnify them, that there may be more profound, more recognizable UFO sightings in that year that may be a signal of things to come and how they are accelerating toward open contact. So watch the skies between now and then, but primarily in your year of 2023, pay attention to all ideas that have to do with the probability of life outside of your world. Now, we are also going to share with you a gift in this season of giving that will allow you to perform, if you're willing, 3 very simple acts that can have a profound effect on accelerating you into this new reality. These are fun, they're very simple, easy to do, and if you are open and willing to participate, which is up to you, you may find that you can magnify and amplify the synchronicity in your life in a variety of ways, on a variety of subjects, and a variety of experiences more than ever before as you pass through this transition time into your new year and your new reality. Riding the wave of this new energy, this shift that you have now created. Because this shift is not just in your own nation, but will have profound rippling effects across the entire globe of Earth. You will be presented with an image, a graphic, that represents these 3 little simple acts that you can do. They will be represented not only by our own energy, the energy of Willa Hilla Chrising, and also, for the first time in quite a while, the energy of Anima, one of our own counterparts on Ethasani, that is involved with social engineering, which is her passion, similar to the idea of our passion being first contact, similar to the idea of Willa's passion being the connection and expression in nature as nature. So when you see and perceive this graphic, you will understand. And we will now explain more clearly the 3 gifts, the 3 acts that you can take to expand and accelerate your experience of synchronicity and allow your life to be more full of joy and to expand your experiences to become more and more of who you are. So, first and foremost, as you can see under what we may refer to as my banner, will be the act labeled Make Contact. What this means is, wherever possible, you can allow yourself to participate in what we have already given you with regard to increasing the probability of contact with your little ET cutouts, putting them in your windows and doorways and leaving them there so that throughout the course of the day you can simply recognize that there are beings around you to help crystallize and solidify that you are never really alone in the overall sense, and that when your senses and frequencies match and harmonize with the idea of your connection to beings like ourselves and others, that you will begin to experience more interaction more consciously. But what you can also do to make contact accelerate, increase, and take advantage of this focal point of energy building up towards 2023 is what some of you are already doing in some ways, shape, and form. Go out into the desert. Go out into the forests. Go out to the ocean. Go out to the areas that are relatively calm and peaceful and isolated, and open up to the idea of contact. You can do it through, in those areas of meditation, you can simply stare up at the stars and open your hearts and send out the invitation more strongly, more powerfully, that you truly are ready, truly open to allow contact to unfold in the way that works the best for all concerned. So go out and make contact. Begin the process in earnest. Take the time to go to those areas where you can be at peace. And you can do it alone. You can do it with a few friends. It doesn't matter. But the intention must be harmonized. The intention must be aligned that what you are doing, no matter what technique you use, using your imaginations, using your creativity, to now more than ever accelerate the idea of open contact by reaching out with your hearts, your minds, your spirits, your imagination, and send out the invitation for those to respond who are willing to assist you, to appreciate you, to love you as you assist, appreciate, and love yourselves more and more. So the first act that you can do, the first gift we are giving you in this season, is to go out and make contact from your side so that from our side we may respond more readily. The second act, as you can see from the graphic, comes from Willa Hillikrissing, 700 years in your future as you know time to exist. And her suggestion, her gift, and the act that she proposes is to go and plant a tree. The physical act of planting a tree, or, if you wish, a garden of flowers, or anything that grows in the earth, will be an act that will again connect you more strongly to your understanding of your relationship, again, not only with the concept of being in nature, but the expression of yourself as nature. You may yourself do this, although we know that some individuals may do things like donate a tree in someone's name, which is also fine. But please understand that what we are giving you here are things that require some degree of physical action for yourselves personally, so that you can make the connections that are necessary, again, to ride the wave of the shift and the change you have begun to create. Don't let the momentum slow down. These simple acts will have more profound effects than you might imagine at first, not only for yourselves individually, but for your world at large. So, the first gift, the act, the physical act of going out and in your own way, opening up and making contact. The second, planting a tree or a garden or vegetables and fruits, whatever you wish to do, but the physical act of connecting to the earth. And also, what Willa has already shared with you in terms of the rituals and processes of becoming a cryptic, by being in a forest or someplace where there are groves of trees, near water, be it a stream, a river, a lake, the ocean, with your back to the tree, sitting in a comfortable position against the tree, facing the water, hearing the water, doing that cryptic meditation, that realization of reaching down into the earth with your mind, with your imagination, with your emotions, with your heart, connecting to the root system, the mycelial network that connects all the trees in the area, upon which they exchange information, support, energy, food, water, to act as one being, a collective full of unique individuals with their own unique aspects and beauty and gifts to give, and tap into that communication so that you become part of that network, part of that forest. So these things, again, the physical acts that are summed up simply by the phrase, plant a tree. And then the third gift, the third act, from Anima, who again follows her passion of being a sociological engineer. which means she is understanding of the connections between the individuals in society and how to amplify and magnify them. And the simplest expression of this idea is to do a kindness for someone. Do a favor, do a kindness, be it a friend or a stranger. Again, we understand that at this time in your process, you have protocols based on the idea of keeping yourselves safe during your pandemic, and we are not in any way, shape, or form asking you to violate any of those protocols in this act of kindness. So attend to yourselves and attend to others, which is also an act of kindness to make sure they are safe, as well as you are safe. In whatever way, shape, or form is representative of the agreements you have made with the family of humanity. But do a kindness where you can. Help someone with something, out of the blue, as you say, unexpectedly, as you say. Give them something they need. Show them something they need. Be there for them in a way that they may need. Again, even the simplest act of helping a stranger in a safe way on little things that they don't expect will brighten their day, will make them feel more connected, even if it is somebody, and perhaps even more profoundly if it is somebody that you may philosophically disagree with. Do an act of kindness, because that goes beyond all of the differences that many of you may exhibit. Just do a simple kindness, perhaps even every day. It's up to you. But these three simple acts, as you can see, if you can see them holistically, as they work as a unit together, make contact, connects you to the stars. Plant a tree, connects you to the earth and grounds you. Do a kindness, connects you to humanity and all beings in creation, because it is an expression altogether of your willingness to participate through action, in your passion, through unconditional love, the vibration of existence itself. Make contact, plant a tree, do a kindness. These are the gifts from us to you. And through these very simple acts, will you be capable of accelerating your reality in the direction of the version of Earth that will be far more representative of the joy, the harmony, the love, the creativity, and the peace that always resides within your soul. We thank you for allowing us to present this present to you in the present, in this season of giving. And we ask now in return, in what way may we be of service to you further? Please open your dialogue with your questions and comments, if you so wish. Sasani collective vibration, and there may be a counterpart, Sasani being, who would be more than willing to channel through you, but it will not be personally me. I am coming through this channel only. But by allowing yourself to explore different states of being in channeling, in the gamma state in the brain between 40 and 100 cycles per second, you can attract whatever you need, information-wise or experience-wise. But one of the best ways to practice the idea of vocal channeling, if that's what you're referring to, is to surround yourself with a few people that are asking questions that they really, really need the answer to, because in a sense, they act like ground, like electricity going to a grounding mechanism. They, by asking those questions and needing to hear the answer, pull the information through you. So you can kind of get out of the way and not have to really pay attention to what's going on. Because if the information is just coming to you, you don't really have to go into a full channeling state. You can be more conscious of what's going on, receive the information, and simply deliver it on your own to people in your own words if you wish to. But to go into a full channeling state, it's always best to have people asking questions to pull the information through you. And also at the same time, you have to absolutely get out of the way in terms of your negative ego structure. You cannot care what you look like, how silly you sound, or whether you get any information for them at all. You have to just trust the way it unfolds and just keep moving forward. Remember, going into the channeling state is also for you as the channel to clear yourself out of all the things that you may need to let go of. So the process is not just for the information for the people asking questions. It's also for you to go through an experience that helps you evolve as well.
And I believe this person also asked how to interpret it when one notices slight discrepancies or inconsistencies in a channel where it's a source that they otherwise entirely resonate with. What is the best way to sort through that without being thrown off of your faith or belief in or trust in a set of teachings?
All right. Well, first of all, you never have to swallow anything whole. You can decide what works for you and what doesn't in any discipline, including ours. The idea, of course, is that channeling in your reality is not, let's just say, a perfect mechanism. There may be misinterpretations, misunderstandings. There may be a lack of using your language in a way that you would understand it because you have different meanings and interpretations for things. The idea is that sometimes it can simply slip. The idea being that, again, it's not always focused in a perfect way. So there may be what you would call some mistakes here and there that would cause certain discrepancies. At the same time, always look into your own belief systems to make sure you're not coloring the information or misinterpreting the information in a way that you prefer it to be, rather than being open to what is actually being said to you. So you have to really take it on a moment-to-moment basis and just see if something doesn't hit you right. Examine yourself to make sure you're not the one making it go into a different state than you would prefer. At the same time, realize there will always be errors here and there that will creep in from time to time, because no channel is perfect. No channeling medium in that sense, energetically, will always maintain a perfect focus for a variety of reasons. And there are certain things that simply get misinterpreted and or interpreted in different ways than maybe the normal understanding of your world. There may be things that don't make sense now that will make sense later. There are a variety of reasons why things may seem to be a little off kilter from time to time.
Thank you. How might experiences of sexuality continue to shift and evolve as our consciousness evolves?
Well, in many different ways, perhaps, all the way up to what we experience now and beyond, where our activity sexually is no longer exactly physical, but more energetic, in the creation of energy bubbles that interlink, overlap, and create a third life within the overlap. So it's no longer the physical act that it used to be for us, that it still is for you. But again, as you open yourself up in a fourth density, higher vibrational way, you'll be clearer about the reasons for the idea of expressing sexuality, and they will all be more, in your expression, aligned with the positive vibration and less aligned with the negative vibration. You will know perfectly the reasons why you may experience the idea of sexuality, and they will all enhance your ability to evolve forward in the fourth density reality that you're creating.
In the last transmission, you said that our individual processes of transforming darkness and limitation within ourselves is getting us ready for a larger collective project doing the same thing.
Yes.
Can you talk more about that and what is coming up in that regard, and what will transforming darkness and limitation look like on a larger collective scale?
No, it's premature. We will address it when it is the time to address it.
Okay. How did you come up with the discovery of shifting from parallel reality to parallel reality at Planck time frequency, each reality being totally distinct from the others? Are there any indications that this is our ordinary real life experience and you were able to figure that out without labs or complicated computations?
Yes, as we evolved and as we followed our version, our understanding of what we've shared with you called the formula, you raise your frequency in specific ways. And those specific ways extend your senses in specific ways. And those specific ways allow you to actually start to view the structure of existence and how it's actually functioning on different levels. So we simply suddenly became aware of parallel realities in a very tangible way and started becoming more aware as we evolved in the momentum that we created for ourselves of all of the different specific increments that go into allowing physical reality to work the way it does. So it was really a matter of opening up our senses to the point where it became obvious to see things and the structure of existence in a very particular way. And then things simply became as obvious to us as certain things are obvious to you, such as, again, by analogy, if you're holding a red rose and I ask you what the color is, you would simply say red. That's not a philosophy. It's not an opinion. You simply have the ability to see the red color. So the idea is we are giving you the experiences of our observations of what has become obvious to us by the expansion and increase in our sensory abilities to perceive through the barriers and the frequencies that create other realities.
So, with the idea that there are many parallel realities and many versions of Earth existing simultaneously,
yes,
how then does each version of me relate to each other? Does this mean my soul copies into many souls?
Not copies, but each version has its own soul, its own higher mind. Again, remember, you're actually shifting to a completely different reality that has its own beingness. It has its own soul, its own purposes. And therefore, it's not that you're copying the soul, but it is dynamically interacting with every version simultaneously, whether you're aware of it or not. So all of the personalities are dynamically and energetically interacting like some gigantic internet. The idea being then that you're simply shifting focus along that interconnected web to experience the idea that you're changing billions of times a second into different versions of Earth or other parallel realities.
Okay, and this person says, I get confused about who is inside of me. I see times when I meld with the ego self, and that leaves me feeling disempowered and fearful. And I see times that I meld with the higher self, which leaves me in a state of empowerment. Who is it? Who is the I doing all this melding?
It is your core identity as an individual reflection of all that is. That never changes. You can experience a number of perspectives, but you're always going to experience it as you. So even when you're a spirit, even if you go to the level of the oversoul, even if you go to the level of all that is itself, you experience that as those things from your point of view. You never lose that particular perspective because you're one of the reflections, one of the ways that all that is has of experiencing itself. So the experiences you're having of disempowerment or empowerment is all happening because you are making choices to buy into certain ideas that then create those experiences. But no matter what the experience, it will always be being experienced by your perspective, which is you as a reflection of all that is, a unique one.
You mentioned that the Sasani are your version of the Wraith, the 5th level of mastery, and that's from the Willa information.
Yes, because we exhibit traits of both physical and spiritual beings. So we are close to the idea that is being expressed in that work that is represented by the stage of the mastery called the Wraith. Similar, not identical, but similar.
So what levels of mastery do the Yael and Shalana or Shayael embody, and are any of them at the Wraith level?
Mostly no, because they have to interact with you in a more physical way. So it's not necessarily their purpose to go into those levels, until later on in their evolutionary path. They maintain a certain kind of physicality that will be more vibrationally compatible with humans on Earth when certain changes happen, of course, so that they can present the hybrid children to you and help them learn to live among you. So it's not necessary for everyone to go through those different levels of mastery in any way, shape, or form for them to serve the primary purpose that they've chosen to express.
What do hybrids and grays eat, and will their food practices be brought to Earth? Are there foods that they can eat that humans can't, and vice versa? And if your craft is a living being, are there foods that it enjoys consuming, and what sorts of things does it like?
Well, I'm going to joke with you a little bit and say that it enjoys a light meal. Because really all it's doing is absorbing light, electromagnetic energy in a variety of forms. We no longer eat. We used to, but we've evolved beyond that. However, the grays evolved to a point where they ingested mostly liquids. The Shalanaya, the children that will come to live among you, will retain the ability to eat physically, but it'll mostly be similar to either vegetarian or vegan diets, as you understand it, and would probably be even simpler in terms of the choices of food that they choose even out of those diets.
Absolutely. You can always rely on us.
The first question is around death.
Yes.
Yes, so I understand what you've taught us about each slice of reality and that we're just moving from slice to slice.
Yes.
But I'm just really curious about what that slice of reality is when we transition. What is that next reality, and what kind of dimension it is, and do we continue being the entity as we know of ourselves here?
No.
No,
you are more than what you are as a physical personality. You will retain that quality, you'll retain that experience, you'll retain that information, but you will be more than that in much the same way that you retain the experience and information you picked up in going through earlier grades of school, but you are beyond that now. You are more than that now. You are an adult as opposed to a child, even though the child still exists within your experience of yourself. You don't define yourself as only being the child anymore. So similarly, when you expand back into the idea of your spirit self, it's like growing up and retaining your childhood experiences and memories and understandings of what you've learned, but you are more than that and see things from a higher point of view, a broader perspective that allows you to utilize the experience in a more expanded way. Remember that it's still you overall, it's always happening to you, but you will recognize yourself as more than you thought yourself to be here in physical reality, just as you now think of yourself as more than the child you used to be.
And so when the transition, once we transition to the other dimension, it could also be a physical or a non-physical or a semi-physical.
Well, physicality only goes so far in terms of dimensionality. You are shifting from third density to fourth density, and that is all within the idea of the fourth dimensional reality of space and time. But when you actually transition to a higher frequency than that, into fifth density and into the spirit realm and higher forms of vibration, you actually are crossing the threshold from one dimension, the fourth dimension of space and time, into the fifth dimension of non-physical reality. Therefore, you will experience things in a very different way. Time and space will be much more malleable and flexible, and not as rigid or crystallized as you experience it to be in physical reality, which does have a border to it, and it ends at the edge of the fourth dimension, which is also fourth density, which is what you're transitioning into now, a higher state of physical reality. But beyond that, you have to go into non-physical reality, or at least not physical reality as you understand it now in your space-time matrix.
Yes. But does one go there and then decide to actually enter fourth density again? Is it possible?
You can create that experience, but remember, everything exists all at once. So you're just creating an experience of going back into fourth density, but all that actually is a shift of perspective, because that reality already exists. That experience, in a sense, is already set up as a structure, but you can have the decision and make the choice as to whether you want to focus on that particular experiential structure or whether you wish to focus on something different, because all of those options are available to you at the same time.
And so are the higher dimensions even, right?
Yes, of course.
8, 9, 10. So they're all there, but
they're all here and now.
They're all here.
Yes.
But somehow, from where I have chosen to be in this dimension, the next transition is to the 5th and not to the 10th, for example.
Well, again, you may cross a threshold from the 4th to the 5th just to give yourself a sense of transition from this particular experience. But in the idea of stepping across that threshold, you will also automatically be given the opportunity to go to the 10th if you wish.
Whoa. And does that transition or the result of the transition somehow is affected by how I've lived this life, how I've experienced this life, just like how I am now based on how I've lived my childhood?
In some sense, yes, but in this day and age, you have much more awareness as a society that you do have the freedom to choose, whereas past societies may not have known that as clearly, and then may have had things happen seemingly automatically that were still choices, but they may have not necessarily been absolutely conscious choices to experience certain things, or they may not have been as aware of all the choices they had in the way that all of you are now because of your exploration of spirituality and consciousness. So it may be a little bit easier for you to be aware of the choices you have in this day and age than used to be true of past eras on your planet historically.
Yes, got it. So my second question is based on something you've told us about how there are lots of spaceships around, and sometimes they just shift their frequency so that we can't see them.
Yes.
So is that frequency just beyond the frequency that our eyes can see? Sometimes
it's such a high frequency that you will not necessarily see them, even if you shifted to the frequency above your physical reality. It just depends on what they're doing and where they are at in that frequency spectrum.
Right. And so those that are doing whatever frequencies, or changing whatever frequencies, they are able to see. So they have the ability to see at the frequency.
Maybe and maybe not. Remember, the idea of the shifting of frequencies isn't always an intentional thing. It may just be par for the course of what they're doing. Therefore, they may shift their frequency automatically to do what it is they're focused on doing and may have absolutely no awareness of you.
Oh, okay.
Because they don't need to.
Sure.
So I'm not saying that's always the case. It simply may be in the same way that you may be driving a car and passing through a neighborhood, and you don't necessarily have to be aware of who are in the houses that you're passing just to get where you're going.
Yes, exactly what I thought. Great. Thank you. So a few years ago when I met you for a session, you mentioned that I asked if I had hybrid children, and you mentioned that I am myself a multidimensionally nested hybrid being acting as a probe.
Yes.
Another version of myself that is a hybrid being.
Yes.
Of the Yael. And
yes, this is common for many of you.
Yes. And you mentioned that she might decide or not to come, and I'm wondering if at this point the decision has been made and if we will meet.
The probability has increased, but it is not finalized. Let's just say right now it's above 80%.
That you'll come, but
yes,
the percentage that will meet.
Again, above 80%.
Oof, yay. Great. So last question. This virus, coronavirus situation that we have here, has it accelerated open contact? And if it has, at this point, reading the energy, what is the likelihood of the year that it will happen?
You are passing through the eye of the needle, as we have called it, and it completely depends on what you do with this time of passage as to whether or not you will experience an acceleration or a deceleration of the idea of contact.
Okay. So at the same time, I'm feeling, during this time, as you call it, the eye of the needle, I'm feeling some cellular level body changes at night when I'm sleeping. Is that?
Yes. It's par for the course because you have to let go and strip yourselves free of anything now, more importantly than ever before, that simply does not resonate with your vibrational compatibility in order to be able to pass effortlessly through the eye of the needle.
Yes, thank you. I really feel that. I'm so happy that you have.
It is our passion and our pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good day.
To you too.
Like around the 80s, or at the 90s, I guess, it kind of declined, the interest. And then it's changed now to what now it seems to be reviving again, I guess.
These things will always go in cycles, but it's not so much that the interest declined in any particular period. It's just simply that you became used to it, which is the point. Because it's all part of the acclimation process for open contact. To present many of these things to you, allow you to sort of absorb them, get used to the idea. It may appear as if interest has waned, but it simply goes to the core groups that are maintaining investigation into these things. And when more information and new information then comes out, it may appear that the interest is rekindled. It's not that the interest has declined. It's simply that at a certain point, your society has gotten used to it and allowed it to become something more normal. Therefore, there's no real reason to call it out as anything different until something different happens.
Do we also go through cycles of sort of disenchantment with magical thinking? The idea of what humans are capable of, or there might be other beings.
There can be cycles like that, but again, remember that these are only the result and consequence of fear-based beliefs. So you may have to go through these cycles to face those beliefs and bring yourself back into the realization and alignment that everything, in a sense, is magical, which doesn't mean it's unscientific.